This is Anti-Venom, my 3-year-old's favourite Marvel character, and the only answer I got when I asked him who did he want to be for Halloween. To start this project, I scoured the charity shops for white stretchy garments and got to unpicking. This crinkled fabric has a very living ooze feel, so will be used for all the key details. For the pattern, we have a range of kids' costumes in various sizes. This cap jumpsuit fits the best right now, so I cloned it using much the same process as outlined in this video. The padding on the body and sleeves made this process a little more difficult, but I worked around it. Something I didn't mention in the cloning video is that sleeve heads are rarely symmetrical. To deal with this, I turned the sleeve over on the fold and marked both sides of the curve. I was expecting to have to finesse this pattern, but after some measurements, it seems that the crucial parts will all match up, so I go ahead and cut all the pattern pieces. I knew I would need an open back so that the costume could be worn, but at this stage I wasn't sure how I was going to achieve this. I just made sure I had some additional fabric that I could make a tab out of. I'm now able to do the most exciting part of this project, the spider. I grab this scrap black jersey, draw the spider and cut it out. Unfolding, I get a symmetrical spider. It's a little rough, but I'm hoping that the edges will fray to further deliver on this monstrous look, so I'm not too bothered. I pin this down and sew it into place, leaving the legs loose where they will go around the body, making sure not to stitch into the seam allowance. Extra muscles were demanded for this suit, so I grabbed this old tee and cut a copy of the front panel. I pinned the two front panels together, and with black thread I sewed in the definition of the abs and chest onto the spider. I then stuffed the muscles and continued to add definition onto the white areas, and I am very pleased with myself. For the back, first I sew up the tab, turn it out and give it a top stitch. I can then join the two panels. There must be a proper way of doing this join so that the tab sits over the seam, but I didn't have time to research and learn it. If someone wants to point me in the right direction in the comments, that would be greatly appreciated. With the body panels prepared, they are pinned and sewn together. I can now look at the legs, and this is the first time I've stitched with the super stretchy material, and it is too much for my domestic machine. With no walker foot or serger, I decided to add thin strips of fusible interfacing to all the seams to make this part a little easier. This works great, and the legs are sewn up pretty quickly, then slid over the body and pinned into place. While the circumference of both parts match quite nicely, annoyingly the side seams don't match up at all, and I get my first inklings that there might be some fit issues ahead of me. But with the body and legs attached, I can see that I'm getting somewhere. I can now hand stitch the spider legs into place and turn to the sleeves. I repeat the process of adding muscle. Trace out the shape of the sleeve onto the old t-shirt. Add a shape that looks something like a shoulder muscle and cut out. Stitch in place on one edge, stuff, and close up the pouch with a zigzag stitch. Zigzag stitch seemed the most symbiote. I could then close up the sleeve and take some time aligning and pinning it to the body, forcing the tiny sleeve hole around the table and running around twice with a zigzag stitch to get... Let's do something else. For the mask, we're cloning the Spider-Man one. It's the same process once again, laying it out flat and figuring out its shape. Once again, I'm not confident about this pattern, but I move on and cut out the panels. For the eyes, I draw out another pattern for the shape and cut it out of the black jersey. These are then stitched into place. On the first attempt, I stitch from the top corners and they slide out of place. I unpick and go again, and one more time. This will do. I can now mark out the shape of the eye holes and cut out the centre, leaving some seam allowance. I snip up to the edge, press over the excess and top stitch around the eyes. Look, it just has to last one night. To assemble the mask, I join the two back panels and stitch up the darts. I do the same with the darts on the front and cut off the excess fabric between the two darts. I then carefully pin the front and back together and, starting from the centre point, stitch out to the edge. I am now able to add a strip of elastic to the back for a better fit, and fold all this over to add a rough hem to the bottom. Off camera, I had reattached the sleeves and properly hemmed the ankles and cuffs, as well as add this binding around the neck. Unpicking the sleeves had roughed up the edge on the right, so I hand stitched this down to stop it from getting any worse. Finally, I add 2 squares of Velcro to close up the back, and this is the finished garment. The kid is pleased. All his monstrous symbiote dreams have come true, and I am the favourite parent of the moment. Somehow, due to blind luck more than anything, the fit on this is okay. It won't last him very long, but it will make it through Halloween. There are many faults, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm not wearing it. This was a tricky construction and only increases my admiration for Peter Parker, who at the age of 16 made this. My headcanon for the spectacular sewist is that he must have started young, and the classic look was likely his own creation. Even looking at his simplest costume, he would have required wide-ranging skills including leatherwork, cobbling, and masterful fitting. Which makes this shade thrown by Janet Van Dyne ahead of the Hellfire Gala all the more offensive. I've seen her work, I'm not impressed. Jumbo's a legend though. I digress. Making Halloween costumes is a wonderful mixture of stress and fun, especially when you're able to create that one character not available in the shops. I'd love to hear the stories of your Halloween sews in the comments. Thanks for watching, it's massively appreciated. And like, subscribe,